Didn't feel like doing my hair this Friday, June the 2nd, 2023. And so, it's about, if you saw it in the title, I don't like to clickbait. So it's basically, I came across something a couple weeks ago, and it was like homeless person and this whole trying to go to jail thing. And I was like, homeless person trying to go to jail on purpose. That's what it was. It was an old, elderly, white male, Caucasian male. And he literally did like a light thing, and he took a note to the bank. He didn't even have a weapon, supposedly, is what I think when I read the article. He just passed a note to the bank teller that said, this is a robbery, maybe he had a kitchen butter knife or something if he had a weapon. But, he asked the bank teller to give him $1. He said, okay, thank you, politely, and said, well, better call the police, and for him to sit down. And he sat down and waited for the police to show up and asked the police to take him in. Like, maybe, I think what it was his wife had died and all of this other stuff. But basically, the goal was for him to go to jail so he could afford his medicine, medical care, having a roof over his head, and eating food, and just basically being taken care of. And so I was like, I thought about it. I was like, I'll do a video over it. Do not do a video over it. They had mentioned other stuff, so I didn't do too much research on it. I just came across one article. This is in The Guardian. It came out on, oh shoot, did I click off the page? Oh, there it is. Okay, came back. Why unhoused people in the U.S. are choosing to go to jail is the title. And it's written by Wilson Christian or something. Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. So just about 6-7 months ago. And so particularly there was a case there, I was reading through it, and there was a case where there was a guy. He had gone to the hospital. He refused to leave the hospital until when he agreed when the police said, okay, then they'll book him. And he's like, okay, well, he won't be homeless because he's going to be booked for refusing to leave the hospital. So he agreed to go to jail. And that was an Indiana man. And then there was, in 2019, right before Christmas, a homeless man broke windows so he could spend the night in jail. 2018, a Washington man robbed his fourth bank in search of a long-term prison sentence. And I don't know if that was the same guy. It doesn't seem like it from the same story, because the other story that I read last week was more of some of the other stuff. But this was a quote from the article. No one believes that employing jails as temporary housing is smart or humane. When people are, when they're homeless and maybe they are in extreme weather conditions, it's not necessarily humane, or is it? And then who do they think it's smart for? I mean, you're not necessarily in that predicament. So some people will judge them and be like, oh, well, they deserve it because they're just smart. And then some people are like, well, it's so quick to judge because you're in that impoverished situation, right? So, and then some people, they're arrogant, and that's what will never happen to them, when it happens a lot to necessarily so elderly people. I quickly came across, I had to click on and say USA only, because in other parts of the world, one of them was like Japan and other places, the elderly population is growing. It had mentioned in Hiroshima, there was an article where they are committing crimes in order to get housing in jail. And that is a scary thought. These are different temperature, specific areas. But, if you wanted to be safe or wanted to get food or just medicine or just sleep in bed or just have something, and, you're not necessarily going to get humane treatment in jail if the security guards think poorly of you. They don't know your background. They don't know why you're there. They don't know your crime. And if all you're doing is doing light crimes like handing a note to the teller, and that guy in the specific at the beginning of this video that I told you about, I think he told the police, when I read the article, said that they better take him in or he'll be back the next day to do it all over again. So, when you have these things that are going on, it's just like, people, you have to decide how to live a more without life, without internet, maybe getting public transit, and then I don't know what other parts of the country y'all live in, but there are so many transportation programs in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas metroplex that I've come across. And then when I was in Houston, there was some as well where there were like subsidized, and there was, some other ones as well for people who did not have cars. I have a vehicle, but if you didn't have a vehicle and stuff like that, what you could do if you didn't have a public transit system available to do that when you're elderly. And then there's senior elderly driving here. And then there's, of course, the senior recreation center that I don't know if that's free or not. There is senior housing, which is subsidized. Of course, there is a waiting list. But that is all over. And then what they do, they charge the 30% of the income. So when you lose half of your income due to Social Security, that is another thing. So when you're doing these, I'm not a financial advisor or financial planner, but when you're financial planning these financial things, people who have a more successful retirement financially are typically, it's been stated in reports, that they have a much more financial plan throughout their life. They're reviewing it, possibly with a financial planner at least, maybe, but they have at least a financial plan throughout their life, and they are reviewing it. So that is something, to consider. And so, I was thinking if anything else, but I wanted to hop on because this is really shocking. And you do hear stories of people, they've got to eat, but I don't know many places. I haven't heard of too many places of food desert, like food bank deserts in the U.S. The thing about the food bank desert in the U.S., there is like, I've been to a food bank before when I was homeless, and oh my goodness, you have, if you have access to a microwave, yes, but of course you're not going to have like some of the entitled, I won't say entitled homeless people, but someone that might come across to me when I'm working in customer service arena. I work in a retail store, and I might be willing to pay for a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But if they're asking, to take something for necessarily free or something, and I'm like, you're getting, you want like this big hot plate for $8.99. What? That doesn't correlate to the same supply demand. And I can even understand what you're wanting, but it's also not something off the $1 menu at the fast food joint down the street. So, when you're at certain poverty level, when you're getting that luxury item, you still have to think in proportion to what your supply is on your financial level. And and also because these things are unhealthy, you are at the grocery store, there could be something else that tastes a lot better than that unhealthy item as well. So and that is something, like I said, I might pay for some aspirin if it's $1 or something. I can't do it every single time or for every single one of them. And then, of course, but like, you see those things and my heart does go out to them. But like I said, I'm a retail worker. So, no, I cannot afford $30 for just, I gotta, I've got my own things to take care of. Of course, one day that would be the goal, to be like, yay! And another $30. And be like, oh, one for you, one for you, one for you. And that would be really awesome. And then to still go off and do my other donations that I regularly plan on a monthly basis that I have in addition to that, because I do have my regular donations plus that I do. Um, so it does keep that things in a little bit perspective when someone is hurting so much that they're going to hurt themselves even more and go, oh, they're going to do that. And that's part of some of the recidivism rate that they talk about already for the ones that made the bad decisions to begin with that weren't homeless, and then they come out and then no one's willing to necessarily hire them for a job, or if they are, it could be a really bad job or a really crummy job, that might not pay very well, might, and if it doesn't even pay very well, it might not even be full time. It might be 10 to 20 hours a week, so not enough hours to stay off the streets and be homeless. And then who's going to want to rent a room from them that knows about their past? You know, and then one of those things, if you lie and say why you were homeless to the person who you're renting a room from, that could open up a whole can of like lawsuits and other things. So, to it brings in a whole different thing of the recidivism of them circling back to commit more crimes and stuff like that, and become homeless and possibly losing their job. So anyway, thank you for your time, and it is Finance Nation. So hopefully, I guess the title is something about does homelessness make you all right, have a good one. Peace. Where is it? Oh, it's right here.